creatives, community, kind folks out there. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into our weekly theme. I figured I'd go into the Fae, fairies, spirits, sprites, changelings, woodland spiritual creatures. I thought I'd make that this week's theme. Now, before we really start to deep dive into it, a little preamble. Sunday, yesterday, this past Sunday, and the upcoming Sundays, I will be doing a 2-hour live stream as we do a live page through and deep dive into the game, the digital format game Invisible Sun. Yesterday's was released. A number of people have seen it, I believe. Give me some feedback if you liked it or hated the format. Now I go live at 7 a.m. on Sundays, and Monday through Friday, we do this 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I know a number of you are just probably like, what? Isn't this bizarre? Are because of daylight savings time. So I'm sorry it threw everyone off. But here in the States, daylight saving time is is in effect. So yeah, time's been thrown off a little bit. Maybe whatever, what have you. Guys, just check this out later. Okay, so let's get into it. So the theme for this week will be the fairies, Fae creatures. Bethos, what's going on there, man? Thank you for joining me yesterday as well. So I did a little preamble, just talked about the fact that we are doing a 2-hour page through review of the digital format Invisible Sun. But because that's been on my mind, I'm not talking about it this week, but I thought I'd bring up Fae creatures, spirit creatures, fairies, and those kind of things, and how we can use them in our game and inserting them into our games, whether they're medieval and, a little more modern, not very often used in sci-fi, but I've seen some Twilight Zone episodes where they use them and whatnot. Let's see. Zevron says, I'm here, but I'm trying to also read the lore for Destiny 2. This was in the new DLC. yeah, you're fine, man. I like the lore and the look of Destiny, although I've heard I'm not a really big gamer, which is weird. My reaction, I hope that's a good thing. I really do. I like, what? It's funny because video gaming, video gaming is one of those things where, it seems like there's the people that are trying to help develop the games are inserting a lot of lore. As everyone says, it's really good. I love. I understand that the gameplay sometimes can lose people a little bit, but there's a lot of games with some great lore, some great background, and especially a ton of the graphics and things. But I understand that as hardcore gamers, a lot of those games can be a little bit, underwhelming, I suppose. Although I do understand that I do understand that me as an old head, I'm an old groggy. For me, I would just play these games and just look around a lot because I'm very amazed at the skill that it took to create those worlds in the first place. But whatever. Mythos says elf ladies are hot. Yeah, elves are supposed to be hot. They're almost supposed to be androgynous almost. Often that's kind of the idea that comes up. Sadly, they don't exist in real life. I don't know. I think there's some people out there that are very elf-like in their stature. I wouldn't say that. Zera says, I honestly suggest you look up lore videos by my name is BYF. Even if you don't play, he explains things well and you can get immersed in the stories. Is that an F? I can't say. Oh, or BYL, BYT. Okay. I'll get into it. Hey, Kitty. Yeah, you might be a little fey creature there as well. All right, so unfortunately, the types of fey creatures that exist, like elves and spirits and sprites and dryads and things like that, the difference between, say, your classic Dungeons and Dragons and what's used in folklore and such. Oh, BYF. Okay, because the little squiggly over the F looks like it's going into the into the into the air quotes, and I couldn't. I was just like, looking at it. Unless I really press my face up against it, I'm blind, man. I'm an old dude. Pronounced Bifey. Oh, okay. No problem. Thank you very much, Zevron. So, if you type in Dungeons and Dragons, they're going to give you like the monster stat blocks for whatever type of spirits there are. Mites are different than gremlins, different than dryads, different than elves, which are different than sprites, et cetera, right? And then, of course, you have your elemental fairies as well. Zevron, Mythos goes on to say, also fairies are cool, except Navi from Zelda. A Zelda Ocarina of Time. Hey, listen. I've played Zelda. I don't remember Ocarina of Time, but whatever. Janny, hey, with the same purple top. That's all right. Looks good on you. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to talk about fey creatures. And one of the things I think that really, one of the elements I think that really surrounds fey creatures are their mystery and they seem to have motivations that are not conducive to dealing with society, but not dealing with society, but also they seem to have an almost obsessive addiction to wanting to bother people, right? Zevron says, was planning on making a Fey Lord or Lady to be patron of my Eladrin Knight Warlock. Yeah, absolutely. It seems like the Fey creatures are somehow intermingled with human or humanoid society, but their motivations are very strange. Whether it's based on the seasons or based on some kind of external pact or something. And one of the things that really seems to be a part of how fey creatures operate are gifts and exchanges and promises. Promises of words and deeds seem to really be something that makes them interesting, and also seems to make them otherworldly, but also part of our society. The idea of leaving out cookies or milk or something like that for fey creatures that clean the house, all the way to what's the little toy, the elf on the shelf during the Christmas season. Sorry. Mythos says half elves are interesting as well. A half fey, as it were. Yes, and even the difference between classic elves in Dungeons and Dragons, which basically just leaves them with pointy ears and lithe, thin bodies, to the Eladrin, which have personalities and even abilities that change based on the seasons, and the fake controversy about the fact that you can include in your game that elves are asexual. They're able to change their sex given enough time if they so choose, which goes hand in hand with the original Dungeons and Dragons Elven God, which didn't have a sex. It was both male and female. So whatever. Zevron says, I remember seeing art of an elf woman who has hair down to her feet, moth wings hanging like a cloak, pitch black eyes, and white irises. You know what? You can, you get in Google and search some elf images unrelated to role-playing games, and they are everywhere. There's always that like interesting idea of like the butterfly wings or like lacy wings, and they come in different sizes from as small as the Disney spirits that glow and are no bigger than the palm of your hand, all the way up to elves that are like 6.5 to 7 feet tall. Like you were saying, pitch black eyes with white irises, long hair, strange colors, and some of them are dark too. Some of them have like black raven wings, and they tend to have like they tend to be mostly female in the art depictions, with frilly outfits and a lot of like lace and silk and things like that. As everyone says, the Archfey have interesting designs. I absolutely agree with that. And a lot of that. Mythos says, wait, Santa's a Fae. Mind blown. Q, mind blown. Yeah. Yeah, like although you could make the argument that Santa's not necessarily Fae. Santa could be like some kind of wizard or something that hangs out with a lot of Fae. And it's funny because the elves, there's always this idea that Fae creatures can get something done as long as you don't see what they're doing. They tend to do things in the shadows, behind closed doors, behind the tree or something. But I believe a lot of their motivations, Zevron is a fiend. Yeah. Oh man. Breaking into houses and things. You playing with, because of the long age of Fae creatures, you could really start to develop some kind of history with them when player characters come across them, right? For example, in a release of ours from Critical Hit Publishing, in one of our releases, we have one where see if I can find it here. Oh yeah, in our archive collection, we released an adventure key, and in one of them, it has to do with Fae creatures, and there was a young lady that made little meat pies for the Fae creatures out in the wild, so they would leave people alone, and it pleased the Fae creatures, right? She'd leave them out there, and they were like, "Oh, these really taste really good, thank you." And in return, they would just leave the community alone, and the community and the Fae creatures lived, pretty peaceful lives until she got older and she got into her 90s and she can't bake them anymore, and they don't go out to the mill. And so the elves took that as an affront, like, wait a minute, you're supposed to make these meat pies for us. Why aren't you coming back here anymore? You owe us, 5,637 meat pies from all that time you were, laid up in bed, right? And you can make the argument, well, she's older, and the elves are like, so you made a promise. And so breaking promises, having curses or hexes, or being like becoming the ambassador or protectorate of a particular region, it seems to be very much a Fae thing, whether they live in a mysterious kind of woods or mountains or river or something like that. As everyone says, giving contracts to kids, trading toys for cookies. Okay, I hear you. I'm I'm corrected. Although it could be doing this out of a warlock patron as well. But I can see him being a Fae creature. Yeah, don't give me cookies. I'm giving you coal. Contracts to kids. Mythos says he's also a player. He does kids' moms. The song confirms it. Oh yeah. I caught Santa. I caught mommy kissing Santa Claus. That's where that mistletoe comes in, right? Yeah. As everyone goes on to say, yeah, trading toys for cookies and being good, yeah. But you know what? That's how you can really twist how Fae creatures. You can twist something that seems really benign and pretty nice, right? Hey kids, if you're good, you get some toys, or you leave some cookies and milk. Santa's going to come by and drop off some toys, and everyone's like, yay! And there's no problems until it's not done any longer, right? And then you have Krampus that comes out of the woodworks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could really play that up. And the in folklore and a lot of games, especially Changeling and Dreaming, they talk about the Seelie and Unseelie courts where the Fey creatures live. It's like they have an acceptance of the good and the evil Fey creatures, but they're not really at war, and they take out their conflicts amongst a human or humanoid society, and you can also play with that as well. As everyone says, my elves are similar to the Asari from the Mass Effect series, a monogendered society that creates children via magically linking to their lover and mixing their magical essence together. You know what? That's a big thing too. Stealing kids. That's a folklore tends to be pretty dark when it comes to stuff like that, right? Stealing children that may have been touched by the magic of the Fae to grow up in their lands is a real thing. And for the Fae creatures, they may not consider it to be evil, but their motivations just don't happen to coincide with doesn't coincide with our culture, and so that could be a thing. I also think that you could very much mix in Fey creatures and minions, you know, and I in the opposite direction. So what I mean is having like a dryad or a small Fey creature or a number of them living in like trees or the woods, or hell, even in a desert or near a swamp or something, and they have a number of allies, you know, giant if they live in a swamp, they could have, you know, giant alligators and snakes and things that they've befriended. If they live in the woods, it could be owlbears and treants and swarms of birds and such that live out in the woods. If they live in the mountains, they could have bonded friendships with hill giants or earth elementals or something like that. Everyone's just like, tieflings are uncommon. In what reality? My players typically have at least 4 per campaign. Yeah. Uh, well, the thing is that like the word tiefling kind of reminds you of Fey creatures. I know in my campaign setting that tieflings do not have a fiendish background, but they have a Fey background. You could even include things like Minotaur into those, or even the Goliath and giant classed creatures like ogres and such. You could make them Fey creatures as well if you want to, and in terms of their origins. But in second edition, they weren't called tieflings; they were called Cambion. They were Cambion demons, the spawn of a human and a fiend. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Zevron. Yeah. Yeah. But there's something else I think that's really cool about Fey creatures that really isn't included in Dungeons and Dragons, but maybe some other game settings. And in a way, in a way, it's like it's the limitations I think that make them interesting. You know, being having vulnerabilities to cold iron, or not being able to cross into someone's home unless invited. I know that's a very vampiric thing, but if I'm not mistaken, I think some Fey creatures are like that. Or like I said, the promises of, you know, trading cookies and milk for cleaning the house, and it could be that they could transform into some, you know, trollish like creature if it's not given to them. It could be sunlight, or, you know, or darkness, a flame, or, you know, salting the earth, or you know, creating a salted circle that they cannot penetrate. Mythos says, are orcs considered Fey? Technically in Dungeons and Dragons, no, but that doesn't stop anyone from making orcs part of the Fey world, whether they are a splinter or corrupted or defenders of. I believe in the game Within the Ring of Fire, their orcs are very natural. They're very woodland, and I think they're even vegetarians. but they defend the the Emerald realm from the encroachment of humanity. Oh, there we go. Zevron says, I love the idea of true names for Fae. If you know someone's true name, you have power over them. What that power isn't defined, but it's there and it's absolute. Yes. And I can imagine like a Fae creature being panicked, maybe because they've traded their true name out of like some kind of misguided love for a human being, or thinking that humans have true names and not understanding that we don't give away our true names, maybe because we don't even know them. But for Fae creatures, it really does control what they have and who they are. Or there could be someone in a village has abused the use of a Fae creature's true name and created all kinds of havoc because the Fae creature doesn't want to do certain things, but this human being knows their true name. Or maybe it could be a wizard or warlock or something that has kind of like stolen their power from this Fae creature, almost like a form of jinn or a freet, controlling them because I know your name. Mythos says in Elder Scrolls, there are elves cursed by Dedra and are considered shit elves, which is a thing. We tend to think of the pristine and light on their feet airy elves that are just oh so ephemeral. They're just like a dream. They're nothing. They're no more physical than a mist. But no one talks about like the feces and dookie elves, right? If they're out there. Which, who's to say that in your world that ghouls and gas and Atiugs aren't necessarily Fae creatures as well, right? I mean, yes, I know the rules say one certain thing, but you can, in your game setting, you can do whatever the hell you want to. And so Fae magic could come from learning the true names of things, like the true names of trees and the natural elements. And maybe that's how druids are able to use their spells as they gain more experience and keep their ties with the Fae creatures in game world. You can say, okay, well, when you go up a level, the reasoning is because you have a Fae mentor that gives you the true names of the sky and storms and the sands and the swamps and things like that. Orcs were cursed in the game, Mythos says. Yeah. Dead Man, the Storyteller, says the Fae and the magicians were trapped by a mage by a pact that they made. And exactly, and having those eternal promises and pacts, because the Fae tend to be immortal. They don't age, or at least age very slowly if that's what happens in your world, that there could be these pacts, these promises of things that we as humanity, having grown up, don't know anything about, but we're now part of it, right? Whether that magic is affecting a particular woodland area, or people have moved who having no idea, they settle a new place in the woods and they're like, wow, this is a really great place. There's a waterfall and a clean river and plenty of animals to eat and veggies and things and fruits we can pull off the trees, not knowing that 2,000 years prior to that, there was some kind of pact or bond, or someone was trapped or ensorcelled. Like, Dead Man is talking about the magicians are trapped by a mage. Maybe a mage trapped them and they're going to blame all of humanity. So all those things. Foolishly, sorry, I'm late. Nah, no, you're all right, man. Trying to shake the cobwebs off of the time change here. That's what I think it is. Zevron says, I made a Feylock Horizon Walker character once. He fell through a portal to the Feywild and was near death from all the creatures when she saved him. And Archfey took pity on this elf. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, Feylock. Now, even in Dungeons and Dragons, like the Feywild is actually and I'm going to say relatively new concept. In the old days, there wasn't necessarily a specific Fey dimension, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so there's a Feywild, and that's where you can really start to change and twist reality. Maybe not so much as my descriptions of the Invisible Sun that I did and will be doing on Sundays, but it could be things where plants grow well out of control, hundreds of feet tall, maybe even taller. There could be cities in the canopy of like a woodland area or a swamp or jungle, and the cities are literally built inside of trees and things, and you could have homes that are on leaves, and the PCs could be running along the tree branches, maybe having to cross like rope bridges to go from tree to tree or something like that. I imagine doing that. And even in the Lord of the Rings, right? Their elves have are very Fae-like in terms of, you notice how they talk. They seem to have like a mystic aura about them, almost like they're otherworldly. And even visually, they have this diffused light look about them, almost like they're ethereal and whatnot. Even though we all know Elrond could have pushed or kicked that ring right into the whatever. I'm not going to go into that. So everyone says, I was going to talk about his characters. Oh, Mythos says, in Elder Scrolls, a hero actually banished the Daedric Prince Mehrunes, dragon's true name. Oh, by using the dragon's true name, they banished it. Using the idea of having true names could be a real thing, especially if elves buy and trade true names, especially from powerful creatures like dragons. That would be kind of cool. Mythos' mistakes have been made. Zevran goes on to talk about his character. As she cared for my character, she fell in love with him. To show him her affection, she gave him warlock magic. Misty step to show how light he made her heart, etc. I love that kind of stuff. I love that, especially when it has to, like narratively, you're explaining the powers that you get, and the word warlock, I think, is a misnomer. I think they should have picked something else. I don't know, some kind of like somehow use the word pact or promise or something of that nature. Zevran says, he could never properly reciprocate, but it let me have a powerful NPC tied to my character, which is exactly what warlocks are, right? It's a powerful NPC. And, let's the GM play with that a little bit. Foolish Kiwi says, I personally always loved the prospect of, and I know it's stereotypical, but playing a tiny fae, a pixie, a brownie, a burrower, something very small, just to have fun with the third pillar interactions. Yeah, and I've always wondered why they never made maybe a druidic or bardic. I mean, there is one of glamour. Don't get me wrong, or maybe even a tiny race, like something smaller than a halfling. But I think that's just because of I think they haven't done that because of the logistics. Because making a small creature or making someone tiny, you would have to. I don't think they wanted to introduce rules. Now, for us, we can introduce those rules, right? For example, if you are one size category or larger than something else, maybe you have disadvantage on like grappling them or resisting being shoved or pushed. That would be very easy. Someone else in our circle came up with the idea that with size changes, you reduce the die for damage. So your tiny creature could have a long sword, but against a small creature, instead of doing a D8, it does a D6, and against a medium-sized creature, it does a D4, and against a large creature, it does a D3, and then after that, it doesn't do anything. So you could do that. Now, that requires some bookkeeping, but whatever. I would go for it. I'd say, hey, you get I don't know, you could go so far as to go like you have -5 on your strength and +5 on your dex, or some crazy thing like that, or what have you. Mythos is also, speaking of Fae, you can incorporate the dark part of the Fae, i.e. the Wendigo. I love that. And I would absolutely introduce that, because amongst the Fae community, the Wendigo may not be evil to them. They're just like, they're not ravaging our lands, or maybe they know that when people do things, like Mythos says, Wendigos are tied to druid magic, I believe. Yeah, I mean, why not include that stuff, or at least include it in the family? And maybe the fake creatures are trying to tell you, they could be telling humanity, like, listen, you need to hold up to your promises, or they're going to send things after you. And I don't doubt that you could come up with a lot of great stories, and especially with the Fey creatures tending not to be very physical so much, so their allies could be very physical. The Wendigo, the Yeti, trolls, bugbears, or something of that nature could be their more physical counterparts. Foolish Kiwi says there's rules for it in 3.5. I just haven't found the right campaign to do it yet. Pixie Barbarian, yeah, Pixie Barbarian, of course. Tinkerbell's fed up with their BS. I'm coming for you. Start pounding on someone's ankle. It's like, what the hell is that? Now, mind you, technically you could still do it. You would just have to narratively describe it a little bit differently. I mean, the reasoning why your character is still strong, but this like 6-inch tiny little thing, you'd have to come up with reasons for that. And then you have to add in flight. You have to make some excuse about that as well. Dead Man Storyteller says in Shadowrun, the Wendigo is a type of vampire. Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm not disputing that. Some think of it as like it just basically like a fiendish beast. Some make it like a vampire, like you said in Shadowrun. But we're just flavoring right now. We're just flavoring things into the Fey realm and coming up with ways to use Fey creatures. Zebra says hitting someone in the ankle with one of those giant rainbow lollipops. yeah. But also Fey creatures tend to be very social creatures, and getting people tricked into doing things in a social setting, drinking the wine, eating the forbidden berries, or eating the very tasty cakes or something like that, illusions and glamours and confusions and things. So setting up the reason for those creatures having social interactions may be because maybe the players have to deal with them, maybe in trade, or they become lost, or there's a community that has like a political they're political allies with the Fey creatures, and the PCs are now involved in it. Maybe they're like bodyguards for a prince that has to deal with the Fey creatures, and things happen. Or maybe humanity deals with them openly, like not just black market, but openly. Maybe they have rich people have these grand parties, and they're only grand if you can invite like the satyrs and the minotaurs and the sprites and pixies to these wild parties. And having people, getting drunk and, pissy drunk because they start getting high or something. Foolish Kiwi says there's also Fae that have been known to dabble closer to society if you have a less wilderness-based stuff. Fawns and satyrs enjoy the drinking and women aspects of society. Yep. Absolutely. You drank my wine, so obviously you owe me life debt. Like, as everyone's like, but you offered. And now I have less, and you didn't give payment. Exactly. I mean, that what a great excuse to be real spiteful about stuff. Being really pedantic, like no, you said no, you took a bite of the cake, and you took a bite. That means you promise. It's like, promise what? Well, you owe me 1,001 days, and and of course you have a lot of funny. Some of the punishments might be really bizarre, like having to dance for 41 days straight, or never being able to drink any liquids for 3 weeks or something, or being cursed with the donkey ears and tail. Right? It's becoming pig faced until you can break the curse or something. Maybe your skin turns purple, or you pollen or smoke or ash follows you everywhere you step, or something like that. Like, you can have really funny and bizarre punishments for player characters if you don't want to go straight down the mind control illusion pathway, or cursed, being absolutely cursed, although those curses might be something else, right? Where you can never tell the truth and everyone knows that you're lying, or whenever you I don't know, when you have transactions or meet someone will meet their fate within 3 days and die, and you need to break this curse or something like that. Mythos says, for example, in my Rifts campaign, I may have players encounter a town of cannibals, but as a result, they incur the wrath of a Wendigo. Yeah. I mean, and of course, maybe some of these interactions with fey creatures, it's like maybe it's not the PC's fault. They just come upon it, and the fey creatures could be enacting their revenge against an innocent group of people. And the PCs are like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to hurt these people? Sending your, I don't know, herd of wild mammoths or something, or, you know, sending the trolls to destroy the town. And the fey creatures are like, we had a party, they didn't enjoy themselves. And it's like, that happened like 560 years ago, dude. Like, relax. They don't have anything to do with it. Well, they're descendants of them and they owe us. You know what I mean? They didn't pay the band when we played music or something, right? It's kind of weird. Mythos says, pedantic. But Lois, who's the boss isn't a food. Who's the boss? Zephyron says, in one game, the DM had an archfey kidnap his kids to turn them into animals for his garden. He sneaked into their house, put a fake baby to live with them for 2 years, and would then die. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, that's a punishment. But why not, right? Mimics and doppelgangers could be fake creatures in your world, and could you imagine like a doppelganger baby? Like someone takes this thing and puts it in someone's house. I mean, that's a real thing, right? Where we've heard of the stories of the fey creatures stealing babies or exchanging them, stealing a human child and placing a fey child in their midst, and then the fey creatures come back after 7 years and want to, you know, collect the children back into their own, or collecting the human babies or humanoid babies into their own and teaching them the ways of the fey or something, not understanding that, you know, a 2-year-old is a whole lot different than a 50-year-old, because to them, they may not know the difference. It'd be funny if they're like, I don't know, you guys just all look the same to me. It'd be funny. Foolish Kiwi says, I also love how different cultures have opposite rituals for Fae. In some places, red makes them mad and attack you. In others, red makes you invisible to Fae. In others, they are afraid of red. Exactly. And you can even play with that, whether there are certain Fae courts or talking with the Fae and they reveal their limitations, and the Fae are like, oh, I should have said that, you know. It's weird because the Fae may completely understand their own limitations and still have those limitations themselves, right? Like they completely know that, let's say everyone puts a red scarf in the window of their home and it keeps the Fae out, and they completely know it. It's like, oh, you've got a red scarf hanging there while they're hanging outside the windows of this home, scratching at the glass, and they're just like, but we'll get you to take it down. Oh yeah, we'll get you to take it down. Wait till tomorrow, you know, or something of that nature, right? Maybe they try to pay someone to take some coin to take it down, or they want to trade some kind of favors or something of that nature. You know, sometimes it's like if you give a fruit to a Fae, they will leave you alone until sundown or something like that. You can come up with all kinds of weird promissory pacts of creatures. And why not? Have fun with it. Mitha says, sorry, couldn't resist quoting an early episode of Family Guy. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, Zevron goes on to talk about the kids being exchanged. It says his response was, what? A baby for a baby, fair trade. Exactly. Like fake creatures may not have the same moral code because in their world it's different. It's like, yeah, I gave you a baby. We took your baby and we gave you a baby. What's the big deal? Janny says in Witcher 3 expansion, Hearts of Stone, there's a fantastic idea for a campaign. A dude made a pact with the devil and now wants out, so he hires the players to deal with it. Exactly. There could be, imagine a grand king that has given peace to the land and has had many children and grandchildren, and everyone is enjoying it, and goes into a hidden room. It's like gets the PCs, and the PCs are like, why do you need us? It's like, listen, I made a pact with these Fae creatures, and my life is about to end, and my legacy is going to be in ruin because when I die, and whatever promise he made or something like that, he's like, he's going to take it out on my loved ones, and they don't know about it, you know? And it's like, okay, I need you to promise to protect them. And so the PCs may need to protect a family legacy, and the family's like, who are you people, strangers hanging around us? We don't know you. And it's like, well, the only reason you're in power and the only reason the people love you is because of this pact with this, you know, these Fae creatures that makes you charismatic and rich and magical or something. They're just like, no, I did this on my own. And it's like, no, you didn't. Mythos says, or have a blood feud about to escalate the war. Elves and humans all started 200 years ago based on a dishonored deal. And depending on players' actions, either war happens or peace is resulted. Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Even if the Fae creatures themselves, like literally the sprites and the pixies, don't war, like they don't actually pull out their weapons in war, it could be them using their minions to go to war, or the people they've had a pact with to go to war. And like you said, it could have been started all 200 years ago. PCs come along, they're just like, oh, whatever, okay, yeah, what's going on? Hi, everybody. And this thing is about to start. This blood feud is about to start, and finding it's a great way to give the history of your world, or at least this part of the setting, and to decipher a way to prevent, you know, this blood feud from expanding out when they have to uncover a lot of history. And what a great way to combine in the physical parts of it for the more combat oriented, fighting off the creatures that the Fae creatures have summoned, whether they're living trees or spirits of the air or monsters or something in the wild. Anything that has dire in its name, dire wolves, dire bears, whatever have you, could be part of pets of the Fae creatures. And then you have your social interactions, trying to convince the smaller minorities of the groups of the Fae that are like, you know what, we really shouldn't go to war, but they're being drowned out because of their lack of influence in the unseelie courts. And then, of course, you have your exploration, right? The Fae creatures could absolutely shape and twist their own habitat, their own havens, so that you have towering trees and spires or other magical things, illusions, and absolutely positively all those really crazy, wild, dangerous plant life things that are in the Feywild, like have those as well. Zevron says the players have to fulfill 3 wishes: steal the whole house of an auctioneer, give the original pack maker's brother, who is dead, the time of his life, and give the pack maker the rose he gave his wife the day they married 3 centuries ago. I love stuff like that. Is so awesome. Yeah, let me steal this. I gotta steal this thing. I mean, how awesome is that idea, right? Fulfill 3 wishes, like steal the whole house of an auctioneer, and the PCs come back like, well, we got all the stuff out the house, and they're just like, no, we want the whole house. And you're like, it's a row home. How do we steal a whole row home? Dude, you're the ones that agreed to it. Listen, we just want the whole house. Brick by brick, having to steal it. That would be awesome, man. Trying to find the rose to give the pack maker the rose he gave his wife the day they married 3 centuries ago. Wow, you'd have to go through time or grow a whole new rose from a seed from the last rose, or maybe the petals blew away and now the roses are growing wild in this like mountainous valley somewhere. They've got to find out where it's at or something. That'd be awesome. Packmaker's brother who's dead have to bring back his spirit, maybe, or go into the afterlife to convince him to come back, and he's like, I'm not coming back. That thing, wow. Mythos says, or have murders happen? Yeah. Janny says, yeah, it's a great story. Oh man, yeah. I mean, investigating strange murders, the murder of someone in a locked room without any evidence around. Yep, the powder keg waiting for the wrong spark to set it off. I love that. Dire corgis. They're huge, man. They might even be up to your knee. It's easy to stop them though, even though they're like CR8 creatures. If you give them tummy rubs, they just turn over. Mythos says, then you have nobles wanting to take advantage of both sides working against the players. Yeah, dire corgis might be really good at like doing like the shove maneuver, knocking you down so they can sit on your lap. Janny says also the person who made the pact isn't a good guy, so the players have to decide to let a bad guy go for the greater good. I don't know if my players could let it go, and what a great way to create a story, right? You've got to help the bad guy go, or like Mythos is saying, have nobles want to take advantage on both sides, working against the players, right? You have this thing where what is it? It's a catch-22. It's the gift of the magi. It's this idea that you're doing this thing knowing that you feel like it's the greater good, but at the same time, it's like creating another enemy. And what a great complication, right? If the players walk away and don't do anything, it's going to turn really bad. If they do something, they're letting out this other evil person that they just hate. And, the PCs are just going like, I don't like them. I love that. Oh, man. Oh, everyone says in Witcher, the brother becomes a ghost and possesses the player on a wedding to party is Mac's content, and the rose was from a magical painting she made to remember that day. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Convincing someone to get married even though they don't like each other, so that maybe a fey creature or a spirit or something could achieve the wedding that they always wanted with this person, or maybe the fey creatures have trapped them in a spirit realm, and the only way they can escape it is to marry their true love through the body of somebody else who's just this, conniving bastard or something like that. You know what I mean? Or someone who's been hideously disfigured, like Beauty and the Beast, right? The Beast was cursed, and until he finds true love and the flower petals fall off of it, he'll be the Beast forever until, an innocent young girl's able to love him. Great story idea. Mythos says, are changelings fey? Well, that's up to you. Remember, we don't want to get too caught in the weeds of using certain types of terminology, right? Some people who don't play role-playing games are not going to know the difference between a changeling and a sprite and a fairy and a pixie. Like, it's all kind of the same thing. If you go to those head shops that sell all the face stuff, that doesn't matter what their names are. Now, in role-playing sense, sure, you can look up all the 1001 different types of fey creatures, and they're all going to have different stat blocks and all that kind of business. So I wouldn't get too caught up with that. I would say, are changelings fey? You could either answer that with a period and say, changelings are fey, or just go like changelings aren't. They're just a completely different thing, and they have no relationship whatsoever. Jenny says the point in the Witcher story is that the dude makes impossible wishes so that the devil can't fulfill them, thus making the completion of the pact impossible. Essentially, it's the story of Faust. And imagine someone accepting those things, knowing that it can't be possible, like it's an impossible thing to achieve, and the fey creatures may have dominated an area because of gaining that power by making things that are impossible, until the PCs come along and then they realize that there is something. Like, for example, maybe the PCs realize that there's been someone who's been working on solving this impossibility, but they're getting old. It's the old quest giver that walks into the tavern and mysteriously hands over a map or whatever information to the PCs, because they're 97 years old, and the PCs now are like, oh, we've got the last key to fulfill whatever strange and impossibility that there is, you know what I mean, to free these people from whatever enchantments or what have you. And of course, with Fey creatures and the Feywild and such, you can play with time and space and distance and things. Like um nothing has to be realistic is what I mean. For example, the players could go into a Fey, the court of the Fae, and they're on a chessboard, and the only way to move across the chessboard is to move like chess pieces. Or there's a mystic realm where instead of their physical abilities like strength, dex, and constitution, that they're in a spiritual realm and they use intelligence, wisdom, and charisma instead because it's all mental or something. Just off the top of my head, but yeah, you could do things like that as well to shift and twist the environment around them, and then have just reskin things, have fun with stuff. Let me go back up here in the chat. Yeah. Mitha says, yes, as a writer, if they choose not to get involved in a plot, it will have consequences in the world. And he says, are you saying as a DM I have flexibility in writing? That's nice. I know you're being sarcastic, man. The reason why I ask about changelings is back to the family feud scenario. There could be a cabal of changelings behind it. Absolutely, and especially like, hate to call it like this, but like the half-breed family members, especially if they have Fae in their blood, they could be like the changelings of the family, you know what I mean? Like where both the Fae portion and the human portion of them don't acknowledge them, or maybe they're hidden away from society, or this is like it's the physical manifestation of this blood feud or curse or something of that nature, or even power as well. There could be a noble family that wants to give of their children over to the Fae, that perform some kind of ritual, or heaven help us, trading children for some sort of sexual abuse or something, essentially by the Fae creatures, to give birth to or give them certain types of power or something. And maybe the children have grown and they hate their parents and want to take them down. So they've become their own triangle in this war to destroy both of them or something. Zevron says the final part of the pact is he will give the devil his soul when they stand on the moon. So the devil has them meet at an ancient moon goddess temple with the moon in mosaic on the floor. That. I like that. Oh, sweet. You're like, yeah, you didn't say which moon, right? Man, I like that a lot. I really do. Foolish Kiwi says, as far as I can see, changelings are Fae touched, relevant, but aren't full-blooded, and it depends on the edition because settings are different. So, like in some settings, they might be half human, half Fae. Yeah, exactly. Foolish Kiwi says, my first ever D&D character was a changeling bard. Yeah. I mean, and who's to say that a changeling PC knows about their background? Maybe they're pulled into this, like it becomes extremely personal, right? I never knew my parents, but then, of course we have, the PCs that always are orphans, the murder hobos, I have no family ties, but maybe that's a great way to draw in the player characters into this thing, right? Mythos says war is a great money maker, and money is one type of power. And Foolish Kiwi goes on to say money is arguably the most immediate type of power aside from weapons and property, and it even supersedes those in some ways. Absolutely. Mythos says, holy shit, a D&D campaign just from that idea alone. Exactly. I mean, and what happens if let's take the classic pot of gold at the end of the rainbow thing, right? What if there's money to be had to fund a war? And if all someone has to do, I mean, sure, we could be reasonable people and work hard and do our due diligence, but what if we just steal a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? Exactly. Foolish Kiwi say, the Fae have all the gold, running into the woods, to burn the forest. Exactly. Oh, man. A PC would do that, right? Like, why go find it? Why don't we just burn the whole forest down and leave the pot of gold sitting there for us to go take ourselves? That would be hilarious. And even if the Fae try to move the pot of gold, the rainbow keeps following them because they can't turn the rainbow off. The end of the rainbow just keeps pointing to where the gold is at. Oh man. What was it? Coheed and Cambria had a music 90s emo rock group kind of, and although I liked them a lot, had an album called Year of the Black Rainbow. Kind of a cool mental image, I guess, of a black rainbow. Burn half the money, pull a Joker. Yeah, exactly. yeah, there would be some Fae that would do something like that. Hey, the Joker's not far away from the machinations of a Fae creature, if you really think about it, especially the Nolan version. Foolish Kiwi says, imagine entire king's army just hunting down leprechauns and pixies. That's kind of sad. Yeah, they could be putting them in cages and hanging them in the courtyards and punishing them, torturing them, people throwing stuff at them, while the people, blaming the leprechauns and pixies for the plague that's ravaged the land, even though it's the king's fault, but they have to find like a proxy to blame, find someone to blame, and it's them. And Burn Mithra's like, Burns Far is great. Yeah, great Kiwi. Yeah. Foolish Kiwi says Coheed and Cambria was pretty good. Don't feel ashamed, DBJ. I was an emo rock boat too. And dude, I'm old. I'm still there, man. I listen to so much stuff, man. And anyway, I love concept albums. So I'm a concept album geek. I love when people think far beyond just a one-hit wonder kind of song. So, wait. Rickard says, "Wait, did you start 1 hour early?" No. It's well, yes, because time has changed. So the entire East Coast has started an hour early, if to be specific. Batagrung, hello from Brazil. Hello there. Hi, thank you for joining me. I hope you are here to join in a talk about tabletop role-playing games and a week of talking about the Fae. Although every week we come up with a different subject, but yeah, we just go for an hour, just throwing out ideas, things you can steal. That's all. But so welcome. Zevron says maybe elf PCs can aspire to becoming Fae Lords if they reach level 20. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Dead Man says daylight savings time. Yeah. I love what Rickard says. Oh, is it that time of year again? ... Yeah, it's just like, oh my goodness. Why do we even need it anymore? God, it's annoying. But we have it. Foolish Kiwi says, yes, it is the dimensional time rift where everyone is late to work. I mean, how much less work do we get done like the week of daylight savings time versus the benefit of having it? Right? If you never had it, you would never get all these people that are just like, getting in car accidents, being late, and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. But anyway, you have a glorious white beard, DBJ. Are you secretly Santa? Very quick. No, it's getting out there, man. I'm showing my age. I consider growing a beard, like a actual like a full beard. I changed my mind to I don't think it's for me. Oh man, Rickard says, ouch, that means I won't be able to catch the stream for the rest of March. Seriously? Yeah, with the time change. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Rickard says daylight savings in Sweden won't kick till the end of March. I didn't know you were in Sweden. Although I didn't assume anything. Although I do have assumptions with everyone. Pro, morning, lovelies. Morning to you too. Our daylight savings is here, and then you guys are in. Well, you said at the end of March or something. I know, and governments change it all the time too. Everyone thinks that the time savings is the same time, and it isn't. It's a governmental thing. They just change it whenever they want, which is stupid. Zevron says some states are getting rid of it. Oh, just need to. It's yeah. Mythos says, and with the internet, we don't DST. Yeah, we don't deal. I know it at one point we know it started out because of farming to have more daylight and stuff, and it's really just we know it's a psychological tool to trick people into certain things. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Mythos is like, get back to your wife. Yes, she will be calling me soon. She's going to be leaving. Rickard says 31st of March. Yeah, that's when it happens in Sweden. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Foolish Kiwi says, you heard it, folks. I have assumptions about everyone, and now we have a quest to find DBJ's Black Book of Viewer Notes. Yeah. In my headcanon, all of you look like something fantastical to me. I and all of it is pleasant. So don't get me wrong, but I have my own headcanon. So I do have assumptions, but it's all funny. So maybe one day I'll go over them with everybody. Everybody from Zevron to Prue to Zymok, Rickard, Rickard Johansson. I love to pronounce it that way, even if that's not the way you're supposed to pronounce it. Mythos as well. Yeah, everybody. So maybe I'll do that. Zevron says I would have looked like Killmonger with elf ears. You got it, man. You got it. Okay, hold on. Yeah, there you go. Batagrung says in Brazil, the summertime ended 3 weeks ago. Oh yeah, because Brazil, you're on the other side of the equator, if I'm not mistaken, or what have you. Wow, yeah, our summertime hasn't even started yet. I love that kind of stuff. Thank you for telling me that, man. I love the Dead Man of Storytellers, like demon. Mythos says, I'm a fat man, laugh out. Don't tell me that. No, you're not. Not in my head canon. Foolish Kiwi says, that's crazy, better. I guess summer here in 2 months. Yeah. We've got a couple of months before our things. Yeah, better. I says Southern Hemisphere. Yeah, we tend to forget that, don't we? Like we're just like, oh, we're going about our lives, and like, yeah, the earth tilts. The summer and winter flip when you go on the other side of the equator. So that's crazy, man. I love it. Rickard says, to be fair, I love that you do pronounce it Rickard and not Richard. Yeah, sorry, man. I just yes, sometimes my pronunciations, I'm not making fun. I think it's cool. So that's why I don't pronounce it Richard. And by the way, you guys know I butcher pronunciations, but if I'm going to bother butchering a pronunciation, I'm going to at least make it fun and interesting and cool, and not try to give it, because American English has a very lazy tongue to it, so I didn't want to do that. That's why I call mythos. It's not mythos, it's mythos. That kind of, anyway, just having fun with you guys. Sorry, man. We've far past the hour mark. Thank you for joining me. Prue says we all butcher pronunciations. Hey Prue, don't start, because I've got my own image of yourself. So yeah, it's a great one. I'm not going to reveal your sex on the chat, but when I saw that image of those eyes, I was just like, that is one of the most enchanting pics I've ever seen. So good on you. I good on you. Whether I know for a fact, but whether male or female, I love that pic. It's incredible. So I love it. Oh man, Rickard says, I started to introduce myself as Rickard after a year of Richard, as it's so much closer to how we say it over here. Oh yeah. So it's okay. So if it's Richard with a long A, is it Richard? See, don't make me take it back. You're Rickard to me. Prue says it's from when I was in Stockholm getting ready to perform. Yeah, I don't want to. embarrass anyone or get anyone to get the wrong idea, but I don't take it back. I mean, I love that pick. It's awesome. It's very flattering, very very flattering. So give yourself a slow clap. Oh, okay. Like as in two R's, two A's. I'm sorry. It's not Richard, it's Ricard. Oh, okay. All right. That's great. All right. Anyway, guys, listen, we hit the hour mark. I'm sure the wife is going to walk out the door any minute now, so I'm going to say goodbye to her. Guys, thank you for joining me. Tomorrow will be Tips and Tricks Tuesday. We'll continue this entire week with the theme of using the Fae. And then Sunday, not at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but 1 hour later. So whatever time it is where you're at right now, it will be 1 hour later, or technically it would be whatever time it is right now is when I will do another 2-hour live page through review of the role-playing game Invisible Sun. So the first video has already been released, and the next one is going to be this Sunday. So I'm going to be doing them on Sundays until I finish going through the game. It's a massive game. And this time we're going to do a character creation and dice mechanics right off the bat, starting in. But the first one video is out where I show all the files and dispel the myth of it being a single $99 PDF, and then we go far deeper into it. So, guys, thank you very much. Great, yeah. Oh, yeah, Mythos Prue is a great member. Great member. She's been around a long time. Sorry about that. Prue and I know of each other for way, way back. So, yeah. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Bye.